Hey guys, Johnny Page here over at Silvertrac Software, and this week we're talking about the Allied Universal acquisition of US Security and Associates and what that means for the small and medium-sized businesses in the security industry. Let's dive right in. All right, so first off, just a couple of thoughts on this. $1 billion acquisition. That is a massive amount of money. It's hard to even wrap my mind around what that would be like in working with figures that large. That's gonna take Allied Universal from about 160,000 employees up to about 210,000 employees spread across the globe. It's important to recognize that as a small and medium-sized business, there are some distinct advantages that you'll have in competing with those companies. And so today we're going to distill 7 strategies that you can hone to really compete well with not only Allied Universal, but also the larger companies in your area. All right, so the first advantage that your small business or medium-sized business will have in competing against the larger companies is your story is still really well known, or should be really well known, across your entire organization. The key to winning the hearts and the dollars of your prospects is really through effective storytelling. So the goal here is that you're going to take your company backgrounds or your distinct value proposition and turn that into a competitive angle you can use in the sales conversation and your marketing collateral. Some examples of an effective story might be the founder story. What really brought your company into the market? What was the mission? What's the goal behind actually opening up the company? Maybe there's the founder's background or the background of the management team. Maybe it's all law enforcement, former law enforcement, or former military. It could also be the type of officers that you're hiring. Maybe you're just hiring off-duty police officers or bilingual officers. It could be in the certifications and the trainings that you require. Maybe you require above and beyond the minimum. And then finally, it could be the management structure. Like maybe there's a unique way that you actually service the account, guaranteeing a certain number of supervisor visits or some really unique one-on-one attention from an account manager. The key takeaway here is that you need to take the company's story, really make it central to not only the way you interact with your employees, making that part of your company culture, but also make it the forefront of all of your marketing collateral and in your proposals. Really keep that story close because it's part of what makes you different. You're local based, and you really want to drive that home in the sales conversation. All right, so the second strategy to hone when you're focusing on really gaining traction as a small business is to pick a niche and really do a deep dive and really become insanely laser focused on that target market. And the advantage here is that you're going to over time develop a really intimate knowledge of how your customer works and what they love, what they hate, what they appreciate, what they want to see in their service and what they don't like to see. And that's really important when you can come in and anticipate the needs of the client and really show a proven track record of the ability to develop and deliver results for that client. It's going to be huge. And the nice thing here is that you're actually going to gain a reputation for success in that industry that you can leverage into more contracts. So really important to pick a niche. Now, am I saying do you turn down business from other industries? Absolutely not. But in terms of your business development efforts, the goal is to really pick a niche and focus hard. 90% of your effort should be focused on that one industry. While of course you'll pick up business from some other industries, the goal here should be to focus on that one industry. So the key takeaway here is that companies that boast we do it all are actually coming off as saying, well, take any business. You kind of confirm yourself as being a warm body company. Although you may be able to service all of those industries, you want to position yourself as an expert in 1 to 3. Again, I would highly encourage you to just pick one, but over time you may scale out. All right, so the third strategy to hone as a small and medium-sized business is to really deliver incredible service and prove the results. So you're not going to have the economies of scale to really compete on price, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. The main value proposition and a reason why a client would go with a small business or a medium business over a national company is the level of service and the value added in the actual contract. So focus on delivering as much value as possible to the customer, and try to make this, and we encourage our clients to actually put a number to the value you deliver to the client. So if you're not already using a guard management software, to really tally up and present to the client all of the routine preventative measures that you're doing to make sure that things run the way they're supposed to run on the property, and then how you handle the incidents, have a tool that helps track the number of incidents that are happening. That kind of tool is really going to help you prove the results on site, but it's also going to help you deliver that higher level of service, knowing when a guard is underperforming before it actually causes a problem on site. All right, so strategy number 4 is we're going to double down on customer relationships. The advantage of working with a small business is that the management team and even the owner are really easily accessible by the client. This allows you to remove any bottlenecks or bureaucracy that larger companies will have when a client has a problem. They're not going to feel like just a number to your small business because they know who you are, they know your team. My dad was a small business owner, and he still is a small business owner, and I used to hear him say all the time, the difference between me and the larger companies out there are that it's very easy for us to be there for you when things are good. Anyone's going to do that. The difference between us is that we're going to be there when things go wrong. We're going to be here to make sure that it's right. We have a reputation to maintain in this area, and we're going to make sure that we are committed to you as the customer for the long haul. And that's really a position that if you're a small business in the security industry, you have to take. You have to be there. Your reputation is super important. You got to be there for your clients. Make sure that if there is something wrong, that you come in and you fix the issue. Just be committed to doing the right thing over the long haul. It's really going to serve you and your company well. All right, strategy number 5, we got to innovate quickly. You have the ability to understand the customer's needs and make changes on a very quick basis. Make fast implementations when you see an opportunity. You can act on it quickly, whereas a larger organization has a lot of employees that they need to manage and maintain and make sure that they're aware of the change. It's kind of like turning around the Queen Mary when you have even more than 1,000 employees, let alone 210,000. So your advantage as a small and medium-sized business is that you can make changes and adjustments with the customer in mind very quickly. So double down on that. Don't shy away from it. Be quick to act and make changes when they're needed. All right, so strategy number 6 is going to be to get more out of less. The larger national companies traditionally operate on lower profit margins. Their value proposition is oftentimes that they have the lower cost. So as a small business, you can't compete on price with the larger companies. It's not a race that anyone wants to win. So just to give you a point of reference here, in 2016, there was a study done by Robert H. Perry and Associates. They're a law firm that specializes in the mergers and acquisitions of security companies. They have a ton of data. For several years, they came out with white papers. The most recent white paper they did was in 2016, where the average margin for a national company was between 8 to 10%. That's the profit level at the site, or that's a profit at the site level. The average for smaller companies was between 14 and 16%. Don't get baited into competing on price with your larger competitors. It's a race that no one wants to end, and at the end of the day, you gotta be willing to walk away from a deal if they're not willing to pay for that higher level of service. Maintain those higher margins and just get more out of less. Have a higher profit margin on fewer accounts than having a ton of accounts with a lower profit margin. You don't want to stretch your management team too thin. The key here is that you got to be willing to walk away from a deal if it's not the right, if they can't come to terms and pay what you actually need to make it work at that site. All right, the 7th strategy to hone when you're a small business competing against those larger national companies is that you have really got the ability to attract better employees. It doesn't take long. You can get online and search some of the security guard forums on sites like Reddit, and there's some other forums to understand that the larger national companies aren't necessarily known among the guard community at being the best employers. So because you're smaller, your people are your product in the security industry, you have the ability to really cultivate the relationships and connect one-on-one with your guard force. Ultimately, the better they perform, the better your reputation as a security company. So use that to your advantage, provide that one-on-one connection and that building relationships, build a network among the guard community in your local market, and you'll have the selection of the cream of the crop company, or guards will want to come work for you because of that added attention and time and benefits of working for a smaller company that has the owner and the operations team and leadership team still involved in the day-to-day. Alright guys, so in summary, what does the Allied Universal and US Security and Associates merger mean for your small business? This just means that the big companies just got bigger, they consolidated, they're going to be working together. What it means is that you have to hone and continue to hone your ability to compete as a small business or a medium-sized business against those national competitors. It's important to recognize the distinct advantages you already have built in. If you become intentional about them and leverage them for your advantage, you'll compete well in the local marketplace. So in summary, let's talk about the 7 strategies we shared today that will help you hone your competitive advantage against those larger national companies. Number 1, use your story to identify your value proposition and identify with your customers. Number 2, pick a niche and develop a reputation for serving that market segment. Number 3, you've got to deliver incredible service and prove results. Number 4, double down on customer relationships and commit to being there for the client through the good and through the bad. Number 5, innovate quickly. Be quick to identify new opportunities and capitalize on them. Number 6, maintain higher profit margins and be willing to walk away for a deal that causes you to compete on price. And then number 7, use your passion and your involvement in the business to attract top talent. Guys, I hope that this video was helpful. If you haven't yet, request a demo of Silvertrac and see how we're helping small and medium businesses streamline their operations and gain a competitive advantage in the sales process. I'm Johnny Page. This was the Silvertrac Extra. We'll see you next week.